Yeah, firstly, thanks to Club de Madrid for giving me this opportunity. In my paper, actually, I'm trying to measure three things. Firstly, measurement of social cohesion, measurement of social inequality, and measurement of social participation in Indian perspective, in Indian context. And why women's perspective? Because the whole analysis and linkages has been done with women's data, women's experiences, basically. No men's data has been, included here. A little bit of introduction. In 1998, Jensen gave 5 components of measuring social cohesion. That is belonging versus isolation, inclusion versus exclusion, participation versus non-involvement, recognition versus rejection, and legitimacy versus illegitimacy. There are other definitions also, to measuring social cohesion. Club de Madrid, in 2007, they prefer the term shared societies over social cohesion. But whatever the definition of social cohesion or shared society is, it is argued that high level of social cohesion is beneficial for development of any country. But there is a problem because unlike developed countries, poor countries or developing countries don't have any measurement or data on social cohesion. So in this paper, I'm trying to measuring social cohesion, measuring social inequality, and measuring social participation. But why on India? Because see, social cohesion is a very big problem in India because it is not not socially cohesive. Why? Because being the second most populous country in the world, India consists of 29 states and 7 union territories. And each state is like one country itself. There are 200 different languages. 22 among these are scheduled languages. it is there. And more than 600 scheduled tribes are there, and 24% of India's populations belong to scheduled tribe and scheduled caste. So there are, huge diversity related to ethnic things. And there is, widespread inequality in all fields of development. So the specific objectives of my paper is to, at first, measure social cohesion and examine it by different demographic, economic, and regional perspectives. Then I'm trying to give a composite index of social inequality, and again, examining it by different educational, occupational health. And third, I'm giving the pattern of social inequality by regions in India. Then I'm trying to find out the determinants of social inequality. And then lastly, the linkages between social cohesion, social inequality, and social participation. The data on social cohesion has not been found in India. There is no data available, no survey has been done. So what I have done, I have used third round of National Family Health Survey. It is equivalent to DHS, Demographic Health Survey. So, and I'm using 1,17,555 married women. It is sample. So data is there, but that data basically collected for measuring fertility, mortality, women's health. But there are other questions also. So I'm taking those questions to give some proxy indication of social cohesion and social inequality. So how I measure social cohesion? So I have selected 6 indicators from the survey. The first, whether women utilized public health facilities when any of household members get sick. This indicator is proxy for accessibility to the public health facility as well as trust to the government. Whether women's household belonging to middle income group, whether woman has bank or saving account, whether woman is aware of any programs in the area that give loans to them to start or expand a business on their own. 3 and 4 indicators, it is their economic accessibility of women. And whether women have education above the median value. The median value of women's education in India is very poor, it is only 2. Whether woman has exposure to any kind of mass media. The assumption is that high level of mass media exposure will help in attaining high level of social cohesion. And all these indicators are categorical and dichotomous. They made dichotomous in the sense, if it is yes, then coded as 1, and if it is no, it is coded as 0. So, the raw index of social cohesion ranges from 0 to 6. 0 means least social cohesion, 6 means highest level of social cohesion. But on the basis of frequency distribution, I categorize social cohesion into 3 types: low social cohesion, medium social cohesion, and strong social cohesion. Then how I measure social inequality? As I'm saying in social inequality, I have used 4 indicators. That is, whether completed primary education, women's occupational status, current occupational status, I mean, whether working or not working, women's health status, either underweight or not underweight, women's autonomy status. I mean, they have freedom or not. Yeah, so on the basis of these 4 indicators, I have computed composite index of social inequality, and it is also categorized into 3 levels: high inequality, medium inequality, and low inequality. And then measures of social participation. I have selected 2 indicators for measuring participation. That is, whether women having complete freedom to visit to the market, health facility, and places outside villages and communities. And the second one, their help-seeking behavior, whether women sought help from persons after experiencing domestic violence. And then bivariate and multivariate analysis have been carried out. Findings. See, these are the indicators which I used for measuring social cohesion index. This is the raw indicators and their percent distribution. As you see, that utilization of public health facilities by women is only 33.3%. When India is a very poor country, I mean, women should go for the public health facilities. Yet the fact is that it is only 33%. So it has given some implication in the sense that either they don't have the accessibility to the public health facilities or they don't have trust. Women belonging to middle income, of course it is, women belonging to middle income households, it is 60%. 60% of women in the sample household belong to the middle income group. Has bank or saving account. See their economic inaccessibility. Only 15% women have bank account. Knowledge of programs to get loan from starting business. 38.7% women have that knowledge. Education above median value. Of course, it is 50. Exposure to any mass media. 76% women have the exposure to the mass media. But here is the fact, the mass media has been calculated on the basis of watching radio, listening to the radio, watching television, and reading newspapers. So, watching TV is a very common phenomenon. So that's why I think this value increases. So this is the raw, index of social cohesion that ranges 0 to 6. So we can see the least, 4.83% of total women have the least social cohesion, and less than 1% of women have the highest level of social cohesion. But on the basis of these 3, I have just categorized social cohesion into 3 categories: low social cohesion, medium social cohesion, and high social cohesion. And among the total women, 42% women belong to the low social cohesion group. These are the percent distribution by demographic background. If you can see that female-headed household, they have among female-headed household, the female-headed household have high level of social cohesion in comparison to the male-headed households. And the women's current age has something to do with the level of social cohesion. You see, the women aged above 35, among them that the level of social cohesion is high. Then social cohesion by different social background. For example, Muslim women, they have very low level of social cohesion. 50% Muslim women, 50% women belonging to Muslim families, they belong to the low social cohesion categories. And scheduled tribe and scheduled caste, women belonging to scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, they have also, low level of social cohesion. So these are the vulnerable groups, and and if you go by the Indian history, you will find that the many agitations have been taken place by these groups. There are still problems. They are the most vulnerable groups. So these are the, state level variations of social cohesion in India. India have 29 states. So what I did, I rank all the states on the basis of women belonging to high social group. So we can see that a state belonging to northeast region or southern region, they have the, best in terms of high social cohesion. It is ranked based on the women belonging to the high social cohesion group. This is the GIS map that states showing the mean level of social cohesion, and on it there is a woman belonging to high social cohesion, medium social cohesion, and low social cohesion. See now how I validate my social cohesion index. How it matters. Whether it's useful. Yeah, it is useful in the sense that when I make some bivariate analysis with this social cohesion and 3 development indicators, so we'll find the basic assumptions of the social cohesion. High level of social cohesion is beneficial for the high level of development. So it is there. So look at that first diagram: social cohesion and decision making capabilities. So yeah. Go to the next. Social cohesion and women's health. If you can see that women belonging to high social cohesion group, the percentage of non-underweight is less. The meanings that health, underweight, being underweight is less likely to high level of social cohesion. And the last diagram, the women who are working in the professional or service sectors, their value is also increasing. The percentage is increasing with the level of high social cohesion. So how I construct my social inequality index? These are the 4 variables and their percentage distribution. And with the basis of these, 4 indicators, I categorize it into 3 categories. That is high social inequality, medium social inequality and low social inequality. And you can find that 35% women belong to the high social inequality group. So now social inequality by demographic background. See, male-headed households have high social inequality in comparison to female-headed household. And then women's current age. If women are, younger women have high level of social inequality. Then caste. Muslim women have, Muslim households have high level of social inequality exist. And in scheduled caste and scheduled tribes too, those 2 vulnerable groups, they also have high level of social inequality. So now it's spatial patterns of social inequality. Like social cohesion, I also, on the basis of high level of social inequality, I rank all the states, and I found that Bihar, Jharkhand, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Odisha, and Chhattisgarh, they have high social inequality. Just to tell you that these 8 states belong to the EAG states. It is called Empowered Action Group states. They are poor in everything, the demographic, development, all the indicators. So these are the findings that validate these things also. Just a spatial pattern of social inequality, you will find that southern states, the inequality is very less in the southern states, but inequality is very high in the middle and northern states. Rural women, the inequality is higher among rural women. And east and central regions, inequality is higher also. And this is social participation indicators, whether having complete freedom of movement, and 57% women have the complete freedom of movement. They can go to the market, they can go to the village, outside villages or anywhere alone without asking anybody. So this is the measure of complete freedom. And only 24% women sought help from someone after experiencing domestic violence. So now the linkages, social cohesion and social inequality. So this is the basic cross tabulation, and we can find that the low level of social cohesion has very high level of social inequality. It is kind of validation. This is the, I think this is a very interesting table. This is the linkages, social cohesion and social inequality. How I want to show these things. See, we found that there are 3 groups, like women belonging to Muslim families, women belonging to scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, they are the most vulnerable. But the point is that in a less socially cohesive society, this vulnerability is higher, but when the society is getting more cohesion, but in more cohesive society, their vulnerability is getting reduced. Look at the comparison in the red one, that less socially cohesive women, among the less socially cohesive women, that Muslims, definitely, that 61% of them belong to the high social inequality. But when you compare these things with the high social cohesion group, that percentage reduced, it is 21.89%. And the same is true for the scheduled caste and the poorest household. This is against the validation, social cohesion and social participation. We will find the same thing. Among the less socially cohesive women, 43.67% of Muslims have complete freedom. But that freedom has been increased in high social cohesive setting. The point is, of course they are the vulnerable groups, but if the social cohesion level is increasing, their vulnerability will be decreased. This is a logistic regression analysis. This is the odds ratio. It will give us the likelihood of being socially unequal or freedom of movement. So we can see, as the women age is increasing, the likelihood of inequality is decreasing. And rural women, place of residence does matter here also in terms of social inequality. The rural women, they are 1.7% more likely, 74% more likely to getting inequality in comparison to urban women. Religion, Muslim women, 1.5 times Muslim women are 1.5 times more likely to be, affected by social inequality in comparison to Hindu women. But the I mean, women belonging to other religions like, Buddhist or Christianity, they are the less likely to being affected by social inequality. Now, caste. Scheduled tribes, they are more likely to be affected by social inequality. So now the freedom of movement, which is a proxy indicator for social participation. So you can find that freedom of movement, I mean, the likelihood of freedom for movement has been increasing with women's age. It's of course because as women's age are increasing, they have some control over their decisions and place of residence. That freedom of movement is less among rural women. Religion, I mean, controlling for other factors, it is 47. I mean, Muslim belongs to. I mean, women belong to Muslim families. 47% of women belonging to Muslim families, they are less likely to have freedom of movement. And now I am trying to look at the effects of social cohesion on social inequality, and we can find from the findings that as the level of social cohesion increases, the level of social inequality is decreasing in odds ratio. And freedom of movement and social inequality, level of social inequality has also effect on freedom of movement. As the social inequality decreases, the freedom of movement is increasing. So summary and conclusion, due to absence of other relevant datasets, I have used this dataset as a proxy measures. And there are particular groups like women belonging to Muslim religion, scheduled caste, and scheduled tribes. So what is the findings? They have low social cohesion, there are high social inequality among these groups, and there are low participation in the sense of freedom of movement. And these social groups are marginalized groups in India, and they are the vulnerable. And results from multivariate analysis also establish that controlling for other factors, social cohesiveness have strong significant influences on social inequality and freedom of movement. So what is the pathways? Low social cohesion, high social inequality, and then low participation. Or the vice versa. Strong social cohesion, low social inequality, and high participation. So these are the, framework. We know that in India, there are marginalized groups, and there are still problems. There are problems, and these groups are based on the religion, caste, and tribes. So if there is strong social cohesion, so that gap between marginalized groups will be decreased, as we see from the findings. It is through opportunity of education, health, occupation, and exposure. And that is exactly opposite in terms of low social cohesion settings. That gap between marginalized groups or gap between marginalized groups and the other groups will increases if that society is less socially cohesive. Thank you.
Thank you.